As a retired Army General, sir, how do you view the recent resurgence of military rule in West Africa, sir?
Now, let me start by saying that, or recalling what Yoruba's elders say. Tí o bá sí nǹkan tó ṣe àdá kì í dá lásán. There's always a cause for an effect to take place. The second thing is also true that since we became colonies of various countries in Europe at that time, especially UK, United Kingdom, France, Portugal. We have been dependent on them intellectually because of sort of education that we went through. Okay, same thing with religion. Although we have part of that coming also from the Middle East. The other thing is also too that in addition to this intellectual dependency, we are also dependent on them for our economic survival. And what has also happened is that the ills of the system that we copied in our political existence, we've also copied so many flaws. So everything about us is dependent. And we have that constant struggle as we mature to become nations of our own with this colonial mentality that has been built up over a century or more. Okay. Having said that, and especially because of our political system, which was handed over to our political elites at that time, or those who were at the forefront of struggle for us to be independent. But that word independence was not total. Yes, we have our own head of state, head of government, parliament, justice. Everything was based on what? On their own system. So we just copied hook, line, and sinkers. We did not adapt it. We did not. India copied, but adapted. So instead of copying hook, line, and sinker, they didn't take the hook. And since they did not take the hook, they did not take the line. And therefore, they did not take the sinker. So, Pandit Nehru and the leaders at that time, in the 40s, changed the whole system. And therefore, broke the foundation of the British system and copied the ones they believe is cultural for them. And one of the systems they broke away was the traditional system of traditional rulers. So in India today, there's no king, there's no this, there's no that, there's no that. And it seems to have worked for them. Today, when you look at African countries, we have a proliferation of traditional rulers. Some don't even know what they are there for. No, some just take it and so on. But at the same time, the Indians have succeeded in preserving their culture. So when you then come to the military, total copy, no change at all. So if you look at all the armies all over Africa, they are still built on the foundation of
The colonial.
colonial masters who established them to protect the colonial regime. So when the Africans took over the regime, it was and the indigenous phase taken over from a foreign phase, but no difference mentality. No difference in system, no difference in thinking, no difference in structure. And the challenges you are battling today are based on the fact that you do not do any serious thinking on our own to see how we can overcome those challenges.
Now,
Therefore, when our people now took over from the new regime and took over both the good and the bad, they were overwhelmed by the power. And by the followership, who at that time did not even understand the system. So they look at power as God-given gift, and they could exercise it anyhow, without any check, without accountability.
now, General, many military regimes have cited corruption, insecurity, and poor governance as justifications for seizing power. Do you believe these reasons are valid?
Now, if you listen to my last statement, in which I said those who took over exercised godly power in running the state, some Western scholars will tell you that they were doing it like a traditional chief. It is not true. Even traditional chiefs have checks and balances. And when they misbehave, in fact, in some communities, even in Nigeria, in the past, chiefs have limited term. When you have ruled for a certain time, and time to go, they ask you to go and take poison. And leave the throne for the next person, either your son or anybody, and things like that. It's not for life in some communities, okay? But we, at the time we are taking over, we did not look at the checks and balances of the social system to be able to counter the flaws of the colonial system that we inherited. So, if you look at the economic system of capitalism in itself encourages corruption, because one important thing about capitalism is that, or what they call laissez-faire, liberal trade, and so forth, in which everybody competes. You know, where there's competition, some people will like to cheat. And that's why for sports, there's a referee or an umpire. And in the capitalist system, regulators play a very, very important role. Regulators. If they are not working, a lot of people, and there will be a lot of corruption. Okay, there will be a lot of corruption. The regulatory system is not working. But the regulatory system is part of the executive. It's not independent of the executive. So who takes who?
We've seen military interventions, sir, in countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger in recent times, sir. May I ask, sir, how has the failure of democratic institutions in these instances contributed to the growing support for military rule?
No, the followers or the electorate,
Yes.
they seem not to be matured. They do not set standards for leadership. They do not set standards for leadership. Two, we tend to make a mistake when people talk about vision. Vision is a long-term thing. It is foresight that matters in politics. Foresight. That is, there's a problem within the short period of time. Find solutions to it. Because most of the followers of the electorate, what they want is solution to their immediate problem or their immediate challenges, not vision. Having that foresight. And what we then have is that again, we copy the political system, political party system. And when we did that at independence, it was working. After some time, money bags took over. But then they realized that you need money to run the party because it has to run like a structure. And therefore, you need to pay staff, offices, and so on and so forth to run the political party. Two, you need money to campaign for election. Where will the money come from? Members' contribution. And where members cannot contribute, money back to take over. And incumbents in political posts will use public funds. And in doing that, what happens is that democracy becomes contractocracy. Government of the contractors, by the contractors, for the contractors. It becomes contractocracy. Because you have to give a contract, kickbacks either to the party or to the governor who wants to run under election or things like that. Or in a big one, the president will look for people who are very close to him, like Lagos Calabar Road or something like that, that runs into 1 trillion naira and so on. And then that's what happens. So, and that because of system you copy, which is flaws. And we also do forget too, it costs a lot of money to run the military. And the military too, they follow what the ones who lay the foundation for them, they try to follow them. And what is that? They want modern equipment with new technology and everything. But you see, the political president never asked them one question. Who are you fighting? And do you need this modern equipment and things like that to fight them? So take the case of Boko Haram. We have fighter jets, Tucano, $500 million, and so on. What is Boko Haram using to fight? what Boko Haram used to fight. So, like some people say, if you want to catch monkey, you become a banana. Are we using banana to catch Boko Haram monkey? But then, the military boys themselves are not serious thinkers. Because before they go to their political masters, they need to ask. They need to think and ask themselves, do you have the right doctrine and tactics to be able to meet the threat? And if we have, what sort of equipment do we need? And can the country afford? Because there are ranges of equipment. It is not how sophisticated they are. It is how useful they are in defeating the threat. But the military boys in Africa think about that. They do not. Therefore, they tend to blame the political authorities. And they also say that the political authorities are corrupt. But most African leaders are always afraid of military coups. So they try to take care of the military. But they are doing it the wrong way, whether it's in Nigeria or anywhere. Like the case of Niger, the government there was trying to do its best to take care of the military boys. So the same Burkina Faso. So when those government were overthrown, they were surprised. Although in the case of Niger, the president who left before the new one was overthrown knew. He knew. Because the military told him, don't let that man be elected as a president. Because he belongs to an ethnic group that are the jihadists. They told him that. And it was a minority ethnic group. But they were also wrong, the military boys, because at that particular time, with that man as his president, we know how to deal with the jihadists. Secondly, like the three of them were complaining, France couldn't help them to fight the jihadists, even though they are still there for a long time. But in Mali, it was France that saved them from 3 years ago from the jihadists capturing Bamako. We could have had an Islamic government in Mali. And if they are talking about corruption, the military is as corrupt as the actually at level of generals and things like that. Because they want to live the good life of the elite of their own country. So, what did they write to? They write SUVs and so on and so forth. They don't write bicycles or things like that. There have been lots of propaganda about the captain in Burkina Faso. It's just a lot of propaganda. And everybody knows that. Anybody that can reason will know that this is like that. They are not getting their jobs right. And they have discovered that they've taken over now. So what has happened? Has anything changed? Now, they also want to prove tough that they are against colonialism and things like that. They wanted to extend that to the Chinese with respect to fuel in Niger. The Chinese packed up their bags and left. So they had to run to Nigeria back. At the end of the day, they became ambitious. The young man in Burkina Faso says they are not ready to hand over for the next 5 years. The Niger president has done like Babangida. He has been sworn in as the president, not military head of state anymore. He's not the president for the next 5 years. Okay? And the Malian one has told them to forget about the election. Okay. See the one in Gabon, who overthrew his cousin. He has not decided that he's going to contest the election. So at least he wants to contest, unlike the ones in West Africa, who have declared themselves president for the next 5 years. And they are doing it in such a way that he will win. What has changed by these military boys, unlike Latin America, the Latin American soldiers in power from Brazil to Chile, when you go to those places, you will see that the military laid the foundation for technological development of those countries, unlike our own here.
General, sir, what are the short-term and the long-term effect of military rule on governance and stability in West Africa, sir?
No, what we have discovered now is that I don't know what Mali, Burkina Faso, and Coup are trying to do. Now they have decided they are going to stay there for 5 years.
Exactly.
And they've separated themselves from ECOWAS by having an alliance. And not only that, they even imposed 0.5% duty on every goods that come from anywhere, including from their former members. Okay? It's an experiment. As far as I'm concerned. But I don't think they are learning from the past. And once you have a coup in a country, and you are the military head of state, no matter what you call yourself, you'll be looking at your back. Whether there are some young people too,
ambitious to take
who
over.
who want to take over from you. So, you may not even be able to sleep properly at night. And then, you want to put some people that you can trust in various positions, but they may not be the best. Okay. And the same thing, you want to put civilians who are loyal to you, like the Prime Minister, for example, and so on. It happened in Mali. The Prime Minister was in support because he was selfish too. He was hoping that his own party will be the one that will win the election. The military threw him out. Happened and now Mr. Trump as the Prime Minister. Okay? So, it's an interesting experiment that's going on in West Africa. But what bothers me is not the politics. It's the jihadist movement.
Exactly.
That they have not been able to contain, and it's spreading.